and just realizing that we are inappropriately labeled. There we go. I'm Houston Freeze, and I'm joined by Ryan Roberts. Apologize for our tardiness this morning. One of those Fridays, and hey, hand up, it's on me. Ryan was here. He was ready. I was scrambling to get things put together, and then there were technical difficulties and file sizes and a bunch of nonsense. But we're here. So we're excited to talk about some draft grades here to wrap up the post-draft week conversation. We're going throughout the AFC South. Ryan and I, we're going to talk about our thoughts on the Titans draft class. Neither of us have had a chance on this channel to go through our grades for the Titans draft class. I also think it's interesting to go through draft grade. Everybody and their brother on Monday draft grades. Oh, Sunday, let's do draft grades. Let's do a draft grades article Saturday night. Why not? And then you kind of get a week to marinate on it. You listen to some folks, different opinions. You let the dust settle. You think about it for a little bit. You sleep on it a couple of times, and some opinions change sometimes. Sometimes they change. So let's see, a week removed, how we feel this draft class for the Titans went in terms of value, in terms of impact this year, in terms of impact 2 to 3 years down the road. Going to have all of those conversations with you all. And then we're going to go on a little tour of the AFC South, talking about our favorite and least favorite draft classes from the Texans, Colts, and Jaguars. Certainly some fireworks in the rest of the AFC South. And so we'll maybe get a break down the players they drafted, of course, yes, but the process with which the teams approached those picks. Also some interesting conversations to have in there. That's going to be our Friday conversation. Stoked to get into it with you, Ryan, but tell the folks what we got to do before we can dive into it.
Yeah, man, super excited. And for people that don't know, I'm not a Titans fan, right? So there's no bias here towards the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to grade it as harshly as I used to when I was a teacher in a former life, but that's a conversation for another day. Before we get into things this morning, though, don't forget to share the show. If you're watching live on Facebook, hit that share button in the bottom right-hand corner and get it out on your feed. If you're watching on YouTube right now, take that YouTube link, send it to a friend in your life or just one of your favorite group chats. Just find the Titans fans that you know and let them know that A to Z Sports is live and talking 2025 NFL Draft recap for the entirety of the division. You can also repost us on Twitter or X to help spread the word. Don't forget that thumbs up button and leave a like on the show before we get going here on a wonderful Friday morning.
Yeah, let's get it started officially. Welcome into the A to Z Sports YouTube channel morning show live on a Friday. Every weekday morning, we're here at 8 Central Time-ish today, kind of stretching that. Streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links tweeted out segment by segment on our Twitter feed at ATOZ Sports, so follow us there. Also follow us on Instagram, TikTok for more Titans coverage. Leave a 5-star Google review for us. A to Z Sports on Google, that's the best way that you can help out A to Z's continued growth, and we appreciate those. We also got to thank our sponsors for making the show happen and helping out you guys at home. Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, boneandjointtn.org. So, Ryan, the Titans came away with 9 players in their draft, a couple of moves, moved up, moved down. Let's just start at the top, and we can ask an overarching question of the chat before we kind of dive into each individual pick the Titans make and give our own grades. But our first question today is, what grade do you give the Titans 2025 NFL draft after a week to think about it? And again, I know that, Austin and Zach, they did this, probably asked the exact same question on Monday. So if you weren't here, great. Now's your chance. If you were here, search your heart, decide if you've made a change of heart. What letter grade do you give the Titans 2025 NFL draft after a week to think about it? Ryan, we can start at the top. Cam Ward, what is there to say? Do you, when grading a draft, when you have the first overall pick and it's an obvious choice, I don't know if I necessarily give you credit for that.
Sure.
It's a pass fail grade and you passed. It's a big get. It's a part of your draft haul for sure. But it was the pick that you had to make, so you made it. So that's kind of all I have to say on that front.
Yeah, well, no, I would say that I would grade a draft more in the example of the Tennessee Titans based upon what you did to put things around Cam Ward, right? So like the entirety of the draft is obviously going to matter a whole lot more you're right. I mean, you got the number one overall pick because you were not good, right? So, like, I'm not going to give you credit for getting the top quarterback in the draft when you had to be really, really bad to get that top quarterback in the draft. From there, and this is true of most teams, right? There are very few quarterbacks that are just these generational players that can turn any situation into greats. Like, very few. They
Hmm.
rarely come. And I hate to break it to most folks, Cam Ward's probably not that guy. Cam Ward is going to be as good as what the Tennessee Titans allow him to be, in my
Mm.
opinion, right? So it's going to come down to grading the entirety of this draft. Did they put enough around him, both skill position wise, offensive line wise, defense? Did they give him someone that can get the ball back for Cam Ward? Like, that's ultimately what this draft is going to look like in the end and how it's going to be graded, in my opinion.
Yep. So let's look at the rest of the picks that they made. Obviously, in the second round with the 35th pick trade. By the way, just I'm kind of going to give grades as we go. First grade, again, it's a P for me. It's a pass on the pass fails spectrum. It's not an A or a B. It's just a pass. In the second round, they had the 35th pick. They trade back. They get a couple of day two picks the way that they had wanted to all along. And at 52, they take Femi Oladejo, edge out of UCLA. Your
Yep,
boy. Now, let's
my
see you
boy.
be unbiased about this one, Ryan, because you and Femi are best friends in the entire world, is what I'm sure. I'm just assuming,
Yes,
considering the
yes.
fact that you all had him on the A to Z Film Room podcast before the draft. And that's a great interview that I encourage folks to go and listen to. Still very poignant, especially for Titans fans, if you want to get to know Femi. What did you make of this decision for the Titans to take a kind of highly debated edge talent
Yes.
at 52?
It's fascinating, and I know I talked a little bit about this with Austin this week as well, but this is my opinion. Like, in a vacuum, Easton, I like Femi Oladejo as far as the player he can become, because we have to
Mm-hmm.
remember he's been playing edge for 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
10 games in his
Is that a
entire
lot?
career on edge, which is just like, you barely have a sample size. And the impact that he was able to make this year, despite being that raw and new to the position, I think is notable. And then he goes to the Senior Bowl and he shows a lot of ability to win against some of the best players, that best offensive linemen that were in the 2025 draft as well. So I am encouraged for the future of Femi. But that being said, the full context of everything, that's where things change a little bit, in my opinion, right? Tennessee, Harold Landry, your leading sacker, wasn't a very productive from a snap to snap perspective. We've talked about that in nauseum at this point. So him leaving is fine, whatever. All I know though is that you do have a big need on the edge. Like you did. You had a huge need as far as finding a guy that could legitimately be a plus threat in the passing game, especially. And I feel like, and this might just be a impulse kind of conversation, because I'm sure that the Titans are building more for, a couple years from now than just winning it all in 2025. Like, there's perspective here. But if people are going to expect Femi to come in day one and be a high caliber pass rusher in the NFL, I think you're going to be very underwhelmed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
very, very, very underwhelmed. What I know he's going to do is he's going to be a really good run defender from start to finish. Like, I think that his background as a linebacker, the physicality I saw him playing defensive end in general for UCLA this last year as a stand up rusher at times. I think that he is going to be a high end run defender in this draft when all is said and done. But I
Which
do
is
think
useful,
that
but you
if
had that in Harold Landry. Like that's not,
exactly,
you're looking to get more
exactly.
than that, obviously.
So that's me of saying is that this is an underwhelming pick for the need that is on the Tennessee Titans roster. I think
Mm-hmm.
that if you were going to go early day two edge, you needed a guy that was going to come in and be a little bit more impactful against the pass. If you're willing to be patient with Emmy, I think the long term could be pretty nice. But it is a big wild card selection because he is not a guy that is proven. It's not going to be like, I'll give you an example. Later in the draft, a little bit later in the draft, Princely Uman Mielen got drafted by the Carolina Panthers,
Panthers.
right? The edge out of Ole Miss. He is much more. I know he's going to be able to brush the passer. Like, I have no doubt in my mind about that.
Yep.
But you could argue that Femi's full all around upside is higher long term. Like, I think that is a very interesting conversation. But Femi is not going to be that day one stellar pass rusher. And I think that is what he's ultimately going to be judged by year one. The question is if you're willing to be patient enough with him year two, year three, maybe year four.
Yeah, we see this very similarly. This was Femi is an exciting prospect who I liked a lot coming in. Um, as a day two player in the 50s is kind of the high end of where I would have been comfortable taking him. So in terms of value, to be frank, it was one of, if not my least favorite value pick for the Titans. Now that's not to say that I hated the value. There's a pick we're going to get to in a minute that I thought was significantly worse value. So it's
I
not the
bet I know
worst.
which one that is. I bet I
It's
know
not
which one
hard to
that is.
find. It's not hard
Yeah.
to find. Yeah, not hard to find. I Again, value is a different conversation from whether I like or dislike the player. And I get it with Femi, right? So like to put a letter grade on the Femi pick, for me, it's a C plus B minus because the upside is there. I guess the best way to put it is Femi at that point felt like the last or one of the last, depending on your opinion of these guys individually, guys on the board at that point who had true edge one upside, right? Who had a reasonable path to be your anchor to that unit. And that group of day two guys, there was a lot of folks that had really high floors, and that's what made the group so exciting. And a lot of guys that were kind of plug and play, and you're like, oh, they could get 5-6 sacks easy this year, and they're going to contribute right away. And we question their ultimate upside in the sense that he's just like, ever really going to lead the group? Is he probably going to be our edge two maybe for the next 5-10 years? Great, cool. But is he going to be the ringer? And there were guys that went off the board there that, Princely Umamielin, JT Tuamalo, Braden Swinson, like that class of guy.
Nick
All
Scarton went one
Nick
pick
Scorton
before,
went one
right?
pick
If I remember,
before.
Scorton was
Yeah,
one
yeah,
pick
yeah.
before, I think. Yeah.
51. Yeah. So all of those guys kind of fit into that group to me.
Yeah.
The upside for Femi and again, he is somebody that if I'm being, I don't love the value of that pick there. And also, if you asked me, hey, if Femi went back to school this year and more than doubled his sample size at his natural position, where do you
Yeah.
think he's drafted? I'm banking on him being a surefire first round pick. I am.
Yeah.
I don't, based on the trajectory in those 10 games, I don't see, I think it would take a pretty significant fall off for that to not be the case. So I see why they did it. And so for me, it's probably a C plus B minus grade
Sure.
value
Sure.
wise.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I don't even think I put a grade on it, but I would also say about a C plus because I think the upside is obviously there. But again, if you fully trust your defensive line coach, your developmental staff, all those things, then I think you feel really good about Femi. But again, if you as a fan perspective, I'm not talking
And
about
I
head
think that
coaching.
might be
Obviously,
that might be the biggest question that fans have, frankly, with
yeah,
this group. That may be the most concerning element of this for some
yeah,
people.
because obviously, like Coach Callahan, I'm sure he trusts his defensive line coach. That's why he's employed
Well,
to
he
be the
does,
defensive line
right?
coach, right? Like he
Yeah.
feels great about him. But do Titans fans feel good enough about whoever that defensive line coach is, as far as from a resume perspective, that he can do it into the future? Can the developmental
And
staff or
Bloom,
strength and
for folks that are
conditioning and everything
wondering.
else involved? Like it's a lot of variables to whether that pick is going to end up whether it's going to pass or fail. I mean, ultimately in the end. So yeah, that is going to be one of the picks outside of Cam Ward, obviously, because we don't have to talk about that. Quarterback sinks or swims this whole draft. But if Femi turns into a really good player and Cam is a good player, plus player, whatever, then you look at this draft and you're like, okay, I undervalued that draft overall long term. That's the keys, I think.
Yeah, kind of a funky order here. We're going to keep going pick by pick and give our thoughts, but I don't want to lose in the pantheon of our comments, the answers to the question that we asked, which I probably in hindsight should have asked at the end of this. So Ryan, if you wouldn't mind scrolling back up to where we got some letter grades, I do want to get to some of those responses and not completely ignore those. And once we get through all these picks, Ryan, you and I will both give our letter grades for the Titans class. But what do you see from the people in the chat? What did they think a week later the Titans draft class deserved?
Yeah, it was pretty split from what I saw. Daniel started us out with an A minus, so he was very high on this class. We had a B minus from Jackson, B plus from Eric, an A minus from a B minus from Caps. We had an A minus. Daniel already gave us an A minus. We had Roz _ Biggie who had an A minus. Deborah gave it a solid A. Kyle Wood Says he gives it a B plus, as did L Pierce. We got some B's from Scott and Titans Kyle, B minus from Kaz, B plus again from Gabriel, B from Narrow, B plus from Top Tier, A from Coach _ Wills. We got a B from Ethan, A minus from Jody, B from Caleb, big fan overall of the class, B plus from Bork. We had a B minus from Steven. We have an F plus from Tykiris gives us
That's a thing. Sure.
B plus from Darius, A minus from Steven. We had B from Nick. I do not have a Philly accent. Sorry, I'm just working through this chat. I do not have a Philly accent. I don't even know what that means. Bearded Kudu says a B plus. We got a B from Roger Wilson. We got a B from Rashid. And yep, so a lot of B's, man. B's, B minus, B plus with an occasional A that seemed to be telling us. And I haven't seen anybody like super low. I actually haven't even seen we got a C plus from Malachi Perry, who says C plus to B minus, somewhere in that range. So that was the first C I saw, though. So relatively speaking, people seem to be decently solid with the class, it appears.
Yeah. I'd say that was generally a positive return there. Not surprising from Titans fans, and I do think that one of those comments you showed encapsulates maybe a little bit of a whirlwind to get there, roller coaster to get there, but ultimately the whole, once you saw the whole class, the whole picture come into focus there on day 3, it made some sense for folks. So let's talk about the 3rd round pick, Kevin Winston Jr., safety out of Penn State. Another guy who, again, for better or for worse, not saying that you, the fan, needs to believe this, or because this could easily just be fan cope, right? But this, to get into the heads of the Titans front office, this is what they believe. They think that their first 3 picks were all first round caliber players in terms of the value for different reasons. And with Femi, it's because the sample size is so small that you're going to quickly realize that his ascent is not even imminent, current. It's happening now. And with Kevin Winston Jr., he's somebody that you've heard a lot of analysts, I'm sure, including I think Nick Saban on the broadcast the night of the draft, talk about how, if this guy had been able to play all of last year, he probably would have been a first round safety talent. To some, the number 2, number 3 safety in the class. And so, I saw a lot of folks saying if he was healthy, he'd have gone above of Nick Emenwari, who ended up going at 35. The Seahawks traded into the Titans pick to take him. So, a top 35 pick somewhere in there. And he obviously got hurt last year, partially torn ACL, which he had repaired and was, the marvels of modern medicine, back to running a 4.5 140 at his March Pro Day. So, that's just one. I have nothing to go on besides that and the fact that the Titans drafted him in the 3rd round. But those things point to me not being particularly worried about him returning to full speed quickly. I think that that's going well, if those are any indication. So what did you make of Kevin Winston Jr. in your pre-draft evaluation, Ryan?
I had an early 2nd round grade on him, so I think I'm on the wavelength of what you're talking about with the other analysts. He is maybe the best open field tackler I have ever evaluated at the safety position. Like, he just doesn't miss, right? He doesn't miss. He's got
0% missed tackle rate.
Yeah,
literally does
not
tackle
miss. Rate's wild. Like, it's one of the best we've ever seen. So
it's 0. It's actually 0.
Is it a 0? Wait,
last year it was a 0.
Tackle the year before. You're right.
He missed no tackles.
So literally the best we've ever seen at the position. So
yes,
he is one of those guys that when you are utilizing him in short zones, into the slot, alley runner, like all those types of things, like, he just doesn't miss tackles, right? Like, he just doesn't. And he's got a bigger frame, good tackle radius. He has experience at Penn State doing a little bit of everything in coverage. I actually like him down kind of in some man coverage against like bigger slots and tight ends, like that type of thing. I think he does really well. He's got clean hips in that regard. He's not going to be your center fielder type, right? Like, you're not rotating him to the middle of the field and asking him to play middle of the field to sideline to hash, like that type of guy. Like, he's not that dude from a range perspective, but a short zone, man-to-man guy that can cover some bigger bodies. There's a lot to like about a Kevin Winston Jr., to say the least.
Yeah, I think that the limitation there is fair. The idea that he, maybe the knock on him is that he is more of a cleanup guy than a playmaker guy at the safety position. And that's ultimately what the safety is for. Like, it's the safety valve. So you want them to be the one that is the safety valve and the last the last line of defense and the guy cleaning up the play on defense. Is he going to be the playmaker at the point of attack? Is he going to be coming flying downhill and making a big play? Maybe we'll see, because I mean, ultimately his tape maybe leaves something to be questioned there. His frame and his athletic prowess does not. He has the body and the physical ability to be just about whatever he wants to be if he puts his mind to it, in my opinion. I mean, he's a prototypical build for the modern safety in the NFL, where we kind of blur the lines between strong and free. And I think that he's going to be an exciting addition to the Titans defense, like immediately, even though they have two starting safeties. I think that he'll be rotating in there and be a part of their game plan. And then once those two guys who are on expiring contracts this year, once the dust settles on whether they stay or go, I think that he'll probably be the Titan safety of the future. That's certainly what that they think is going to be the case. So
can I ask you a question about him, though? I think there's an interesting question here, right?
Yeah.
I think most would agree, and it sounds like you do as well. Him at 82 is a value as far as if he's healthy, which I understand is an if, but that's the only serious injury he's ever had. So like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to come back from that, right? Value there. I think most fans were probably a little bit in between on it, just because I think that if you told me that they traded back from 35 and now they have day 2 draft picks, right? 2 second-round draft picks. One of them needs to be a wide receiver, right? Like that's, I think, 2 day 2 draft picks. So one in the second, one in the third. One will need to be a wide receiver. So it was not necessarily like, it's not a negative, because again, I think in a vacuum, as a value play, I think Winston is a tremendous value, but it's the fight of, but was he the right position that you needed? Was he the right guy that you needed? Like, I think that's where the fascinating conversation comes in at.
Sure. And I mean, that's just I've said that this Titans front office, they are process oriented to a fault. And that's, this is a perfect example of that, where they're playing the board. And at that point, you had Jalen Noel come off the board to those greedy Texans, who we'll talk about in a minute, at 80, when they take both of the Iowa State guys. And from that point, I personally had guys like Alec Ayamaner, who they ended up getting way later. So great, awesome, graded out in kind of that range. And so that would have made some sense to me. But beyond him, there wasn't anybody at the receiver position there that was screaming to me, go draft that guy.
No, he went 3 picks earlier, right? Went 3 picks earlier before that. Wasn't Jalen Noel like 3 picks before that or something?
Yeah, the guy that was screaming for me there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Right. Yeah.
Wait, what did I say about the Texans? Did I say that they took?
Yeah, no. I was just adding that in because I think it would have been a really interesting. Like, imagine if Jalen Noel and Kevin Winston Jr. were both on the board. I think that kind of like that theorizes a little bit of
Noel would have been the
potentially.
Pick. Yeah, Noel would have been the pick. He would have like that, and so, yeah, Noel would have been the pick, and that's just that's the risk you take when you trade down, and that's the way that it works sometimes. And sometimes you try to trade up, and nobody answers the call. So it is what it is. But so that's why on the Winston pick, ultimately I think I give it an A-, and it would be the only reason the minus is just because of the positional context of it, but the value is all there to me. So I ultimately love the pick in a vacuum.
Agreed. Yeah. No. I think we're on the same page. Like, again, I think that if we're just talking value at different spots, I think that number one overall, it is what it is, right? Like, you took a quarterback and that was who you were going to take. I think you did not get a value with Femi. Just as far as, I don't think he was the 52nd overall player in this class. He was probably a little tick lower and has some developmental upside. But Kevin Winston's a value. Like, for most people, I think he was probably a top 40 overall player in this draft that fell there to 82. So I agree that it is a value play. Absolutely.
All right, so let's fly through the 6 day 3 picks here. And, speaking of value, questionable value here at the top of day 3, first pick of the 4th round. It's going to take me a while to say his name correctly. It's muscle memory at this point. Chimere Dike, wide receiver out of Florida. Somebody that I did not dislike as a player, but I did not see him as the 103rd pick in the NFL draft. Sure didn't. And he's somebody that has blazing speed. He's got a good build. He's on the bigger side. He's not huge, but he's on the bigger side. And you combine that size and speed, it's enticing. He is somebody that right now I'd say is a third level threat. And if he wants to become a short and intermediate player, he's going to have to really develop out his route tree and some of the details of the way that he approaches the position. I will give him the benefit of the doubt just because I don't know if anybody watched Florida last year. I watched some of it, unfortunately, and it wasn't exactly the world's most comfortable wide receiver position in the world. So maybe get him in a decent offense and let's see what can happen there. He does have some nice highlights, but I see him as a little bit more developmental, and I wonder how much his 4.34 40 is pulling the weight of the 103rd overall pick. I do.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talked about this a little bit with Austin, but I really think that overall, clearly this was I don't want to say desperation. Desperation is not the word, but you wanted speed in that spot, right? Like, is there any doubt about that? You're like, I want to find a guy that has a different element to this offense that we just don't have enough of at the moment, right? And you just don't, because let's, I mean, like, let's frame it like this, Easton, right? You have Calvin Ridley, who has some speed to him, obviously, and he brings that to that profile to the table. But after that, it's like Tyler Lockett isn't quite what he used to be as far as being a designated deep threat in an offense. Van Jefferson is not your vertical separator type of dude. Like, you just don't have a guy in this offense that is, I am really scared that he's going to take the top off and is going to run a post right by us. Like, you just don't have
Mm-hmm.
that guy necessarily. So I imagine that's why DK, and then outside of the special teams value, that he was the pick. But yes, he would definitely not have been the guy for me at that spot, to say the least.
Yep, and I'll continue here as you work through the internet troubleshooting you've got. The upside of, as I kind of slide to one side here. Hello, you can see that there are other things in my cluttered office right now besides the just the A to Z background. You see right there. There's old Nissan Stadium, the thing it lights up when I turn it on, and it's going to be a relic here shortly. The upside, this is uncomfortable. No, we're gonna go this way. We're gonna go this way. All right, Chad, here we go. The special teams element that DK brings is something that is important to note. The way that he was enlisted by the Titans when the pick was made as a receiver and returner, that means something. And so if he can bring a plus element to the Titans as either a kick or a punt returner, that's going to be a big deal for them. And obviously we know that they have been wandering the wilderness in that regard. The next pick, they go on this run at the top of the third round, or the third day of 3 pass catchers in a row. Gunnar Helm is the guy who, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday with Austin, or excuse me, 2 days ago with Austin and Sam. Helm is the guy that I think is probably the most likely to be an immediate impact from this draft class. And that's not a hot take. Like, I think a lot of folks understand that, but he is the perfect safety valve type of player who, the comp that I've seen that I kind of do like is Jake Ferguson, the tight end in Dallas, somebody that is not necessarily going to blow you away. And there are some athletic limitations that maybe keep them from being an all-world tight end in their career. But man, are they productive. And every year you're surprised, wow, how many, he ended up with 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. That's Gunnar Helm to me, man. I think Gunnar Helm is going to be Cam Ward's best friend. I think that he is going to be the more traditional inline Y blocking tight end that they've been looking for a little bit now. And he's going to be the complement to that room, complement to Chig, and kind of what Josh Wiley hasn't panned out to be yet. And I'm not saying he can't, but they're showing, I think, with this pick that, hey, Josh is a little bit on the clock here. And it's time for, this year you need to beat this guy out, Josh, if you want to, really claim the mantle of that role, because we think that Gunnar can run it. Welcome back, Ryan. Talking about Gunnar Helm.
Okay.
And so just talking about how I think that he is the player in this draft class that is most equipped to be an immediate impact for this team. Yep. And so what did you think of the Gunnar Helm selection and the value at pick 120?
Well, first of all, I value you for rolling with the punches there for a minute, because My
It's
Wi-Fi
fine. I do
signal is
what I can.
perfect. I did the internet test. Everything's good. I feel like I look a little bit better.
You do.
The
You
video is
are.
not quite as choppy as it
No, you are
was. I
clearer
don't
now.
know. So yes, internet, fun times, working remotely, great times.
Well, we've heard you
Gunnar
loud and clear
Helm.
the whole time, and that's what matters.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I know my audio has been fine. It's just the video has been weird. But yeah. Anyway, Gunnar Helm. I. It's an interesting thing about Gunnar Helm, Easton, is that I think that Gunnar Helm was a value just in general because he ran a 40 where he completely twisted his ankle and that thing was black and blue. I think that he had a chance to be a top 100 pick if he would have just tested a little bit better, right?
mhm.
I think he would have had that possibility. He quietly had 60 receptions for over 700 yards. Here's a trivia question. Who led Texas offense, a team that had a first round NFL draft pick and a kid that probably would have went top 100 if not for off the field concerns? Who led them in receptions last year?
Gunnar Helm.
It was Gunnar Helm, 60 receptions last year for Texas offense, over 700 yards. And he's very different than what's in the room for Tennessee right now. Like compared to Chig is that movement based H-back type guy that you're going to move around all over the place. Gunnar Helm can do some of that stuff after the catch, but he also can play in line. He can play with his hand in the dirt. He has more experience as a blocker than that room for the most part outside like Josh Wiley that I think is still with the Tennessee Titans, right? So he brings a different dynamic. He was very productive. I think he's a value play because he would have been drafted higher if not for that ankle injury. So I like the pick a lot. I was talking to Austin about this, and I think Tennessee, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like they like Chig, right, as far as like
They
an
do.
athlete and at the tight end position. But it would not shock me if Gunnar Helm works his way into this lineup. Not saying he'll necessarily be the starter, but if he's the number 2 tight end and he starts to get more and more targets as the season goes on and becomes a guy that for the future is a bright spot potentially, I think Gunnar Helm has that type of upside. Absolutely.
Yeah. So to kind of get us up to speed here on the grading, I would give the Chimere Dike pick a C minus, and I would give the Gunnar Helm pick a B.
Oh, okay. So I would go B plus on Gunnar Helm because of the value. I think the value
Mhm.
is really good there. I would go, and I'm going to be the pessimistic guy here, I guess. I would give the DK pick a D plus. That would be where I'm at. I don't think he's a
I'm
useless
not
player.
fighting you on that. I'm
I
not.
just don't think. I think you said it perfectly. It's not that DK is a bad player. He has a role potentially for a football team, but is he the number 103 overall player when other wide receivers like Jalen Royals, Alec Ayomanor, who luckily the Titans were able to get a little bit later in this draft now that we'll talk about, was he the value at that spot? I just don't think so. So
No.
that's kind of why I'm a little bit lower on that selection.
This is so funny to me. Richie, consecutive comments here. Richie, Easton's keeping it real. Big Ten Jeff, Easton's being way too nice. Which is it, fellas? Get it together. A C minus, I wouldn't say is necessarily a well. Jeff saying DK is a D, almost an F. If you think that he's just a bad player, yes. But no matter the value of the pick, I'm not going to give a pick worse than a C minus personally, unless I think that the player is bad at football. And DK was a guy that I liked for the Titans on day 3, just not that early. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a C minus. I think that's more than fair. And Helm, I mean, I may be a little bit too cold on Helm because I just talked him up and gave him a B, and Ryan gave him a B plus. So, you want me to be a little too optimistic? Maybe here, let's do this next pick. I'll be a little too optimistic.
Uh-oh.
My boy
Okay.
Alec Ayomanor is the next pick the
Wide
Titans
receiver
had.
one. Wide receiver
I
one.
mean,
Alec Ayomanor. Yeah.
don't tell me with a good time. Pick 136. A guy that slid there solely because of medicals. That's what I've been told. He would have been a top 100 pick with a bullet if he hadn't had whatever his medical concerns are. I don't know what the medical concerns are. I know that in his distant past, he's had some lower leg or lower body leg issues
Mm-hmm.
that he's dealt with. But that's not recent. So I don't know if that it's lingering stuff from that or some new stuff. Not sure. Maybe we'll find out one day. Maybe we won't. But if that clears, if that checks out and isn't ultimately an issue for him, brother, I don't see why this guy isn't going to be in your starting rotation pretty early in this season. And I
Yeah.
don't see why he couldn't be the best receiver on this team, not close, not named Calvin Ridley this year. The guy that I see when I watch him, and I understand that he is not the build is not exact, but this is the comp that I like. Yes, Alec is a bit smaller than this player.
Mm-hmm.
But I see a Michael Pittman upside for Alec Ayomanor.
It's interesting. Yeah.
And Pittman, yes, has probably 15 pounds on him, has 2 or 3 inches on him. But the way that Alec plays big, uses his body to his advantage, is a hair stiff down the field, but you're not too worried about it because of the size and the speed that they offer. And in terms of the role that they play in the NFL, obviously Pittman I think we would agree is a low level wide receiver 1, would be a high level wide receiver 2. That's how I feel, at least. Um,
Yep.
Maybe he doesn't ever truly reach that, Manor, but can he be a solid wide receiver 2 starting in an NFL offense for a long time? I do think that's his upside. I do. I see a lot of promise with this guy. He is, with a bullet, not close, the best blocker in this receiving class. He is not close, number 1 with a bullet, the most caring receiver in his give a crap meter is broken. It's off the charts. This guy, he is extremely smart and extremely motivated, and you see it all over his tape. I have a hard time finding things not to love about the guy. I do.
Yeah. No, and he at 134, I was shocked he was there, first and foremost. I thought that people that I talked to,
Yes.
I thought that the NFL valued this kid very, very highly. So I was
Mhm.
very shocked that he was there at 134, just first and foremost from the value conversation I had earlier. 6'2, 206, 32 and a half inch arms, 10-inch hands. He's got a bigger frame, and he tested phenomenally. I had 4.44, 38 and a half inch vert, 10.7 broad. You know what he didn't do in testing, Easton, which kind of backs up what you were saying earlier? He didn't do any of the short area stuff. So this is a very linear player, right? Like, he's a vertically oriented player, which is fine. I mean, if you watch his 2023 against Travis Hunter, right? Like, it can work. It can work. It definitely can
We
work.
like
There's
downfield.
No doubt.
Downfield is good.
Yes, no, downfield works for a team that now has a quarterback that has a big arm. You want the ability to stretch the field if you can, and he's a guy that's going to do it differently than like a DK will do. Like, DK, if he's going to win downfield, it's going to be pure foot speed. Like, he's going to win in posts, deep overs, like that type of thing. This kid's more of a, I'm going to run an outside fade, and I'm going to win a contested catch ball when I get outside leverage on a corner, because I have a big body and I can run pretty fast. So, a lot to like about him. And also, he's only a redshirt sophomore, right? So, like, this is a young cat too, dude. Like, this isn't like a 24-year-old grown man that just is been around the block for 7 years. This is a kid that was only a third-year player and has still developmental upside to get better and better and better and better. So, at that spot in the 4th round, tremendous value. I will say, and I think me and Austin talked about this, but if you would have told me Alec Ayomanor went number 103 overall and then DK went 136, like, or 134, whatever, 136, I think it kind of changes the feelings of that selection just overall. But at that spot, I think that is an absolute steal for Ayomanor. That's an A pick, in my opinion.
It's an easy A+ for me. I'm all in on the Manor pick. I think the Titans got one of the only one. I mean, you can count on one hand the receivers in this class who I really feel good about their ability to play X receiver in the NFL. And I think Manor is one of them, and they got him at pick 136. And it has the potential. I said it before the draft, before I knew he was going to be a Titan. I'm going to say it again now. He, to me, and I know that I'm probably too far in on him. I think he has the potential to be the steal of the draft class at the receiver position. So we'll see. I think that I love the landing spot for him, because the last thing I wanted was for him to go to a team where he was going to get buried on a depth chart. And the opportunity that he has on this depth chart is about as good as you could have asked for in the entire league. I mean, he out of the gate, the mantle's there, young man. Go claim it.
Quick over under on it. 45 and a half receptions for Ayomanor in 2025.
I mean, I'm going to say over.
Love it.
It sounds outrageous. It sounds outrageous. And he's going to end up with like 42, and everybody's going to be like, oh, you idiot. But even then, okay, cool. Sick. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah. There's a lot of mouths to feed in this passing game. There could be 7 guys that have more than 25 catches this year. Sure. But I think a lot of them will go in Ayomanor's direction. The last 3 guys we'll touch on real quick. You had at 167, Jackson Slater, interior offensive lineman out of Sacramento State. 183, Marcus Harris, cornerback out of California. And 188, Khalil Mullings, running back out of Michigan. Just kind of some highlights on those guys. Jackson Slater is by far of these three players the one that I knew the most about going in and am the most excited about. He's the guy that I think maybe 3 years from now, we may look back and say, wow, he was the value pick of this class, because I think that he has every potential in the world to become a starting guard or center in the NFL. I think the Titans see that in him. He kind of came on everybody's radar when he went to the Senior Bowl, and a guy from Sacramento State. Okay, the tape's awesome, but like, let's see you play some NFL players. And then he whooped up on all of them and kicked their butts. And it's like, all right, well, this cat can play. All right, he's a real player, and he's somebody that I think that they're going to take in under Bill Callahan's wing and see if they can't groom him to be the replacement for Kevin Zeitler at the right guard position next year. And that's going to be a massive, massive steal at pick 167 if that can be the case.
I mean, he's highly experienced too. And I know when he came on the A to Z Sports Film Room channel, he talked a lot about that. He's been snapping a lot too. So I think he's, as a swing interior player, I think it brings like a very solid floor to the table. I don't think you miss on that pick. 10 Jackson Slaters or 1 Gorilla. I'm not sure which wins there. It's a good fight, I think. But
I'd watch it. Yeah. I'm in attendance. I'm seated.
He's a really smart kid too. Very well spoken. I think that he has the communication skills without having played center up to this point to eventually be a center if you needed him to be that as well. So I think he's a guard first and foremost, obviously with his experience, but he does have some swing possibilities inside.
And then what thoughts did you have on Harrison Mullings? I'm not going to pretend. I mean, Mullings is of the two. Mullings is the one that I had done some work on. Harris, just hand up. I knew the guy's name. That was the extent of my knowledge on him.
You know what's funny is I actually watched more film of Harris when he was at Idaho than I did at Cal, because I remember watching him after he hit the transfer portal and stuff, watching him a little bit there. I mean, he's athletic. I think he ran like 4.3 something at his pro day or whatnot. Like he's explosive. He's athletic. Needs to get stronger. Needs to get a little bit more better technically. I mean, and it makes sense. He spent his entire career outside of 1 year at Idaho, so he just needs some technical prowess, all that type of stuff. So in the 6th round, 183. It's worth a swing, man. If a 6th round pick doesn't end up being a good football player, you know what we won't be talking about in a few years? Because no one cares. It's a 6th round pick. No one cares. Right. Like, no one cares. But if he becomes a good player, special teamer, key backup, rotation player, whatever, then that's where value is. Khalil Mullings, he's exactly what they need in the room as like a 3rd or 4th back, right? Like they need a big physical dude that might be able to churn out a short yardage opportunity. And also, he was a former linebacker at Michigan for his first few years. So you know what he's going to do really well, Easton? He's going to run down on kickoff and make tackles. Like that's what he's going to do, right? So special teamer, backup running back, again in the 6th round. That's all you really are hoping for.
I mean, Khalil, my only real thought on him before the draft was that he was just reincarnation of another Michigan running back who was a former Tennessee Titan. Does that kind of ring true to you?
I'm trying to think who that player is.
He's now a Los Angeles Charger.
Angeles Charger. I feel like I should know this very
chat,
easily.
Help him out.
What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh no!
Who's gonna get it first, Ryan or the chat?
Probably the chat, because I'm drawing a huge blank here. Who is that?
In 21, I think 22.
Haskins.
On it. Hassan Haskins.
Okay, all right. Hassan
Haskins. I think he's another Hassan Haskins. Who, I mean, he was that dirty work type of back, bruiser between the linebacker build, somebody that is a special teams ace now in the NFL. Is useful. Like last year, he was scoring touchdowns in meaningful games. So I think and that's what they got. I think they just got another Haskins. So good. This is what they needed in that room. Great.
I mean, if you pop on the Michigan USC game from last year, literally the 2-minute drill was giving Khalil Mullings the football and not letting the University of Michigan throw the football, which is hilarious. So physical, downhill, former linebacker. I would be pretty surprised if he didn't make the team and at least be a special teamer for the Titans.
All right, so Ryan, time to put a bow on the Titans draft class before we talk about some of these other classes around the AFC South. What is your final grade for the Titans draft class?
I give it a B-, and we did this on the A to Z Film Room channel. There's a lot of redeeming qualities to it. The A.O. Manor and Gunnar Helm picks, I think, really kind of buoyed it up after a pretty rough little stretch there, right, of like Femi and DK in 2 out of 3 selections. But I really think, obviously, everything's going to hinder on just how good Cam Ward is ultimately. Like that is what's going to make or break this class long term. But I think it has a B- with upside is kind of how I would frame it. I think that there's some redeeming qualities. I think there's a lot of questions as well. So I couldn't quite get it to a B plus, or even an A range. I think B
Mhm.
minus is a fair one because is a little bit of boomer bust quality to it.
Sure, it's a B plus for me just because when I go player by player, guys that I see as tremendous value picks, I see Winston as a good value. I see Helm as a good value. I see Iamainer as a great value. I personally see Jackson as a very good value. And then Harris and Mullings are what they are. They're appropriate picks there. When you weigh that against the guys who I have some concerns about the value, it's really just Oladejo at 52 and DK at 103. And so I think the good outweighs the bad for me. The reason why it's a B plus and not an A minus is because there is some boom bust to it. I'm with you on that, and I think that there is some projection involved with some of these guys. But when I grade this the way that I think the Titans are internally grading it, not on what this will look like this year, but what it will look like in the next 2 to 3 years, I think it's a B plus draft. So B plus is going to be my ultimate answer. Now, Ryan, let's take those grades. A B minus, you said, right? Use your answer. B minus.
B minus, correct. Yep.
B minus for you, B plus for me. Let's stack that up against what we think the rest of the AFC South did, and that's where we're going to get the chat back involved. So our next question for you all in the chat is: who besides the Titans had your favorite draft in the AFC South? The Jaguars, the Texans, or the Colts? Who was your favorite of those classes? And as we get some of those questions, Ryan, we can begin to go through. I'll give an overview of those classes. How about for folks that are interested? The Jaguars is who we'll start with. We all know what they did at the top, trading up, mortgaging the now and the future to get Travis Hunter at 2 overall. Their next pick, since they gave away their 2, is Caleb Ransaw, safety at pick 88. Wyatt Milam, an offensive lineman at 89. Bashal Tootin, they get the speedy back at 100, the big body speedy back at 104. Jack Kaiser, linebacker at 107. Jalen I've never known how to say this. McLeod. Do you know how to say his last name?
It's McLeod.
McLeod. Okay, yep. Cool. That shows how much work I did on the defensive end at 194 that they got Jalen McLeod. Rayun Lane, another guy that a free safety at 200. Okay. And then a couple of, Jonathan Monheim and LaQuint Allen, offensive line and running back, some late 200s picks for them. So that is the Jaguars. I will now leverage to find the Colts draft class. We know that they took Tyler Warren at pick 15 at the top 14. Of the 14. Thank you. Yep. They're always every year they're 13, 14, 15, 16. That's the Colts.
Every single year. Yep.
Tyler Warren, one of the chalkiest picks of the first round. Obviously, we all think that he's a very good player, and that makes a lot of sense. But we can maybe talk about whether or not you love that pick or not for them. I like it. They take a guy that I do like in JT Tuimoloau, the edge player out of Ohio State in the second round. Cornerback Justin Wally out of Minnesota was an interesting one. Tackle Jalen Travis out of Iowa State was an interesting one. Running back DJ Giddens, I do kind of like that one. Kansas State player. Riley Leonard comes off the board.
There he is.
That fits the Colts quarterback room to a T, and that's kind of in a derogatory way. And then defensive tackle Tim Smith and linebacker Hunter Waller out of Wisconsin, who sneaky I do like quite a bit, liked him at the Senior Bowl. So that's the Colts draft class. And then finally, the Texans, those greedy wide receiver Texans, pay no attention who's blocking for CJ Stroud, but he's going to have some fellas downfield. Let me tell you, the 2025 Texans draft class, come on, you can load. I believe in you. Here we go. They trade back in the first round. Who did they trade back with ultimately? I forget.
They were picked 25, so that was the Jackson Dart trade.
Was that the Dart trade? Okay, yeah.
Dart trade spot. Yep.
So they allow the Giants to foolishly come up and draft Jackson Dart. They move back and get Jaden Higginson 35, which I'm going to want to come back to that in terms of value pick. We'll circle back on that one. Ariante Ursary, the big tackle out of Minnesota in the second round as well. Jalen Knoll doubling down on both Iowa State receivers at 80. Titans fans know that one. Jalen Smith at cornerback out of USC. Woody Marks, running back out of USC. They really loved the USC Pro Day, it seems. Jalen Reed out of Penn State, the other safety at Penn State. This kind of just hit me that both Penn State safeties now in the AFC South. So we'll be able
only one is good, so it's great.
We'll be able to compare them directly. I know which one I prefer as well. Graham Mertz comes off the board, believe it or not, round 6 pick, the Florida Gators quarterback, the guy that was making DK's life a little bit difficult there in Florida. And then Keontae Hamilton, the defensive tackle out of Rutgers. Luke Lackey, the tight end out of Iowa. So that is their draft class. If for those of you keeping score at home, that means the Texans drafted a Jalen, and Jaden. That's their draft class. So 2 Jalen's, a Jalen, and a Jaden. Good luck to some of maybe some of the older beat writers down there in Houston keeping that straight.
The things that you notice as you go through drafts is these little weird intricacies of they love USC and they love guys named Jalen or Jaden, different summations.
Yeah, because they took 4 of them. That's crazy. So Ryan, I'll send you to the chat.
Yep.
Who was the favorite according to the chat non-Titans draft class in the AFC South?
Yeah, I mean, as we work through, I would say just off the top, I think the Texans will end up winning this one, but we did have a couple splits here. So we have Simmons Isaiah, not to be confused with by former first round draft pick Isaiah Simmons, says the Jaguars. We have a couple back-to-back, Eric Castillo for the Texans and Greg with the Texans. We also had Steven who backed up the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jags by far from Richie. Richie says Jags by far. It's not even close.
All right.
I'm not disagree more with that one. Dalen says the Texans. We also have another Texans from Steven. We have Orlando that says the Texans as well. Texans from Ed. Roger says Texans as unfortunately, the Texans from Darius Horton. Someone said the Giants. Oh, because of the dart trade thing. Then we got Jonathan says the Texans, but they need more offensive line. I agree with that sentiment. We have Eric with the Texans as well. Jason says the Texans. Giuliano says the Texans. We have Texans from Jeff. We got Top Tier who says the Texans. Jags by far since they bet the farm on Travis Hunter. Well, that makes it a little bit volatile in my opinion, Chris, but yeah, it may be.
Because of one pick. One pick,
Eric.
he's all in.
That's a single pick. That's all they need.
I mean, I too am all in on Hunter being a good NFL player. But there's the rest of the class you have to consider as well, which is something I'm not exactly all in on.
I don't know if he can play left tackle. He can play a lot of different things. I don't know if he can play left tackle or interior defensive line. Edward with the Jags as well. We had Texans from.
These are some surprising responses to me, Ryan, because my answer is not being mentioned. I'm not seeing it.
Oh my gosh! I thought I was going to be the outlier here.
No,
I was going to talk about the Colts, and it sounds like we're both going to talk about the Colts. It sounds like no,
we are. The Colts are the best draft class in the AFC South besides the Titans. And I don't know if this is cope from Titans fans not wanting to give the Colts in particular any love, which I can understand.
Sure,
but man, I don't like. What's the sell against it? Just that it wasn't as flashy as the other two. It's like, oh, well, the Jaguars traded up and got the guy at 2, and the Texans grabbed both of the receivers on day 2. Okay, fine, but look at the totality of the class. Those other 2 classes have some really, really suspect picks. I mean, there are some warts.
Yeah,
the Colts draft class was a lot of useful players.
I agree. And super chat quick from Elks that is about this. So, and we can fight back on it real quick. Thank you for the super chat, Elks. We appreciate it very much.
Elks.
Colts F- just for Riley Leonard. Ruined draft for me. I'm sorry. You hated Riley Leonard more than you liked Graham Mertz?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing here?
That's crazy. Riley Leonard is Peyton Manning compared to Graham Mertz. I mean, at least Riley Leonard has like an NFL frame and like will run a dude over. Like, what does Graham Mertz do? What does he do? Throw balls too late in uncatchable positions?
I don't want to have the 6th round quarterback conversation too much because like in the end it probably won't matter, right? Like 6th round quarterbacks just don't work out.
Both of them blow.
You can't say I hate the Riley Leonard pick for the Indianapolis Colts and then also say, oh, the Texans are the best draft when they drafted Graham Mertz also in the 6th round. That doesn't make any sense. That ideology just doesn't make any sense.
Big Ten Jeff says Mertz can throw a forward pass. Can he? Barely.
Oh my gosh.
To whom, Big Ten Jeff? To whom is he throwing the forward pass?
Yeah. I mean, real quick though, on the Indianapolis Colts, as we kind of go a little deeper into that one for a minute, I think that they found value in a lot of spots in this draft, man.
Agreed.
Like I liked it a lot. Look, I thought Tyler Warren was going 7 to the Jets. I was almost solid in that one, and he ends up going 14. Also, the second tight end off the board. I think that that's value just in a vacuum, right? So that's a good pick.
Even though I do kind of think that they wanted the other guy,
You think so? You think they wanted Colston?
Yeah,
I mean, it's possible.
I think if they were both there, they'd have taken Colston. But
I,
it's a heck of a consolation prize.
it's funny because I don't know. You might be very well be right on that. I don't know exactly what the Colts thought about Colston Loveland. I do know that they had a blue chip grade on Tyler Warren though, so maybe they had blue chip on
I
both.
believe
That's
it.
possible, I guess. I mean, who knows?
Hmm.
But I think that that's value there. JT Tuimoloau is a rock solid pick at 45. He wasn't
Yes,
overdrafted. That's a good spot.
yes.
Justin Wally, people will hate that pick, but I got to Justin Wally late in this class. I'm telling you right now, Justin Wally is good, the corner from Minnesota. He's a good
Interesting.
football player, man. I'm cool with him at 80. Jalen
Mm,
Travis has a swing at 127. Cool. DJ Giddens at 151 is stealing money.
yes,
Like you,
yes,
you
yes,
literally
yes,
stole
yes.
money there, man. Hunter Waller at 232
Really
is
like that pick.
stealing money. They found value everywhere in this class, in my opinion.
TJ Giddens is going to rock in fantasy once JT inevitably goes down again. Just folks putting that out there. Giddens is, I mean, that's kind
I
of
like
the
Giddens
case
a
with
lot.
all the running backs in this class. Like he was one of a lot of the guys that were exciting, but he sure was one of them. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the Wally pick. The Jalen Travis pick, I can understand as a tackle swing in the 4th round. Okay, cool. And they're a team that benefit of the doubt. They've taken some guys that are maybe some questionable offensive line draft picks the past couple of years, and they've made something of them. So well, let's see what they can do. But yeah, I'm with you. The JTT pick, loved. Tyler Warren pick,
Yep.
like it a lot. DJ Giddens pick, love. Hunter Waller pick, love. Is it my favorite class in the world? No. But is there more to like than to dislike? I do think so. And I cannot say that about the other two classes.
Well, and here's the thing with the Texans, because I'm not gonna. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm gonna let this out now.
It's
But
situation based.
yeah, it's situation based, and also like Houston's not gonna be my least favorite when we flip over to like the class we like this. I like the Houston class, like I do
Yeah.
actually, but the
In a
one miss I
vacuum.
think. What's that?
In a vacuum.
Yeah, in a vacuum.
I like it if you didn't tell me it was the Texans class. If you just showed me the class and said somebody
Yeah.
had this, I'd be like, oh yeah. And then you tell
Well,
me it's for the Texans, and I like it a lot less.
yeah,
Situation like who did they need?
yes.
Not a lot of these guys.
And I thought the Ariante Ursary pick was a solid pick there in the second round. But here's the thing: you put a lot of wide receivers around CJ Stroud. That's great, but who's blocking for him,
Who is
man?
blocking for CJ
You
Stroud?
you didn't
Nobody.
prioritize offensive line enough in this class, which is the one big knock that I have on the.
He's going to have
Texans
7
draft.
guys open downfield in every play, and he's going to be dead in the backfield, and it's not going to matter. I don't
Yep.
get it at all. I don't. I mean, they went full Anakin Skywalker. The young Jedi's like he walks into the room and they lit the lightsaber and they killed all the younglings in the offensive line room. Cool, fine. You're just not going to replace the younglings with you know you got one youngling in Ariante Ursere. Cool. What's the plan? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a great offensive line, man. I mean, it's going to be like Ariante Ursary is probably going to play left tackle, or Blake Fisher's going to play left tackle, and the other's going to play right tackle, and it's just going to be a lot of not very nice. Titus Howard's
When everybody's
gonna be
hanging
there
their hat
somewhere.
on. Yes,
that?
sorry. Go.
No,
continue.
that was it. Just that you just
Okay.
don't have enough quality offensive linemen, and that was a big problem
Yes.
last year. I know wide receivers were hurt, but the offensive line was also very leaky and bad last year.
When everybody's hanging their hat with the Texans class on the pair of receivers, who I do like both of these receivers, and I think they're going to be useful receivers, like Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, both the Iowa State boys. Great, cool that you got them both. Higgins was a total reach.
At that spot, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like the value. I like the player. I like the
Oh,
player.
there too.
I don't like the value. I
They made
like
up
his
for it because
frame.
Noel was a value, so they made up for it in that regard, I guess. But
True.
yeah.
And frankly, I would have felt differently about it if you just flipped them because Knoll to me was arguably worthy of a 34th overall pick. So fine, it comes out in the wash. Higgins is a guy that I like it a lot. I like the player a lot. I like a lot is strong. I like the player. I don't like him a lot. The reason why is because yes, he's big, he's fast. I wish he would play big and fast. I do kind of wish that he would, play that way, and he kind of doesn't. So they're gonna have to teach him to play that way. And then, okay, you got those guys. One, who else in this class are you hanging your hat on that you just like? Oh, I really like that one too. Ursary doesn't do it for me, man. He's fine. The things that I heard are he's a wild man. He's a wild man, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But even if he does work, you got one tackle that works. Is he going to work as a rookie? I would bet a lot of money that this year is going to be a rough one for Ariante Ursary. I would. And then beyond that, there's nobody else on this class that really, I mean, even in a class chock full of exciting running backs, you get Woody Marks.
I
in the
actually
fourth
like
round.
Woody Marks, but I didn't like
He's
that I saw that they
fine.
gave up a future third round pick to move up into the fourth round to get
Bingo.
Woody Marks. Like that's not
Bingo.
value, right? That's not value at
No.
all.
And there were other players on the board at that position, at the running back position, that I liked better there than Woody Marks, a lot better than Woody Marks. So, I mean, like Woody Marks versus DJ Giddens, I know who I'm taking all day, twice on Sunday. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. That running
And
back
then again,
hierarchy was kind of weird, just like in a vacuum of like the mid rounds. I was like, why is DJ Giddens in the fifth round? Like, I was just so confused by some of those decisions that were made. Agreed.
Jeff saying that's funny that Higgins is a reach now and y'all wanted the Titans to take him at 35. I sure did not. I was talking about him as somebody that I thought could be the pick at 35, not as somebody that I wanted to be the pick at 35. I feel like I made it pretty
Right.
clear that I would not have
It's a
been.
huge
I
distinction.
would have liked the player and felt like it was a reach.
But you
That
probably would have liked so in how it all worked out for the Titans trading back and going back to 52. Like I'm sure you would have liked Higgins at 52, right? Comparatively to
yeah,
35.
sure,
Yeah,
sure,
right,
sure. No, and that would have
right.
been fine for me. Again, I like the player. He has some shortcomings to me that make him a reach at 34, 35. And Jeff, you can check the tapes. The morning of the second round, I tweeted out what I think the Titans would do, what I hope they do, et cetera, et cetera. And under the category of will not happen, when the Titans still had the 35th pick, I said they will not take Jaden Higgins at 35. And they did not. So they could not, to be fair, even if they wanted to. But that was something that I was all the way out on, and that's documented. So I like the player, don't love that value at that pick.
Sure.
And then again, like where on the wide receiver depth chart do these guys come in? Are they wide receiver 3 and 4? Like
I think to be fair,
this room is outrageous.
yeah, no, it's a very good room. They've done a good job of making a. I mean, because it was just all about injuries last year, right? Like Tank Dell got injured, Stephon Diggs got injured. Like it was tough from the IR perspective. I do like how it potentially fits as far as like styles. I think they're all very different type of players, so I think it could
It's
like
true.
the diversity. I think is really cool. Like Nico Collins is your big boundary X that can win down the field. Jaden Higgins, I think, is actually kind of more of a like big slot type. Like I think that he could do that type of stuff as far as like being a good route runner and having a big body to the middle of the field, like that type of guy. And then Jalen Knowles, your speedy after catch slot that I think can play some Z at times as well. So he's like a little bit interchangeable there. So I think it could fit well potentially. But again, it's not even about the wide receivers. I like the wide receiver room for Texans a lot. It's the offensive line. I just really the lack of attention up front was just mind-boggling to me. You have a franchise quarterback. You have to protect him. You just have to protect him, and you chose not to for some reason.
Agreed. And yet, they were not the worst AFC South draft class. That title to our eyes and ears belongs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm going to ask the chat to see if they agree. Our final question today: who had your least favorite non-Titan? Well, actually, if you want to say the Titans because that's what you think, you can say that. But who had your least favorite draft in the AFC South this year? Asking you all in the chat right now. Sent that question and let us know. Obviously, we've kind of tipped our hands. Ryan and I believe it to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. But who do you all in the comments? I'm very curious to see. What do you think about who had the worst class? Ryan, explain why you like Travis Hunter a lot and actually love Travis Hunter, but think that they did a bad job in this draft.
So it's just you were aggressive, which I respect. Liam Cohen, Gladstone, that staff was like, I'm going to go get Travis Hunter. Respect. You got, if not the best player in the draft, the second best player in the draft. If he's not one, he's two.
No,
whatever.
he was the best player. I don't want to hear it. He was the best player. I don't want to hear it.
People have different opinions,
So I think the people are dumb and wrong, Ryan.
Well, I guess I'm dumb and wrong then. I don't know. So you traded up 3 spots. You did give up a lot to make that happen, though, right?
Oh man,
and it was a haul for a non-quarterback, especially to trade into the top 2. Like you just don't see it very often, right? So doesn't mean it won't end up being not good value for the Jaguars. Maybe it'll just be like, okay, Travis Hunter is an all-pro, so like we don't care that we gave up X, Y, and Z pick, and then you see what they also gave up to Cleveland, and maybe Cleveland doesn't do anything with those picks, and you're just like, okay, we won the trade, awesome, whatever.
Well, if it's anything like the Julio Jones trade, Cleveland will do nothing with those picks.
Yes, well, yeah, Cleveland doesn't have a great track record. Cleveland's draft was an absolute mess, by the way. We can talk about that another time probably. But after that, you first and foremost, you make that selection, cool. You have less picks now to work with. Your next pick is Caleb Ransall, the nickel corner out of Tulane, who apparently they're moving to safety.
Don't care.
So Yeah,
Hate that value.
yeah. Top hunter pick, Caleb Bransall. No, thank you.
Mm-mm.
Wyatt Milam, I think, is a good value at 89. That's
I
a
do.
pick I think is a very fair spot for.
I think he's my favorite pick of their class. I mean, if we're
Yeah,
taking Hunter out of it, the Hunter situation is different.
no, he is.
I like
100%
I
agree.
like Wyatt Milam.
He'll be a starting guard in the NFL at least, and maybe an average one, but maybe he'll be a good starter eventually, and that's
Yeah, no,
fine.
that's a
That's
good pick.
cool. At 89, that's great value. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
After that, Bayshall Tootin at 104.
Fantasy managers rejoice, I guess. Like woohoo,
Yeah.
every fantasy players, every fantasy guru's favorite guy.
He's just very scheme specific and he has ball security issues. Like, I just don't like that pick in that spot. I think there are better running backs on the board. Jack Kaiser at 107. And this is coming from the Notre Dame guy, by the way, the guy that covers Notre Dame.
That's you.
It's too early for Jack Kaiser. Like, it was
Oh,
just too
no.
early for Jack. It was just
If
too early.
you
for
don't
Jack.
have Jack's back, then no one has Jack's back.
Jack Kaiser is one of the most likable Notre Dame players of all time, man.
Did you hear that,
Most
Jack?
games-
This guy hates you.
Played in 69 career games. Very nice. 69 career games there.
Very nice.
He's got like a master's. He's so well liked, multi-year captain. Like, everyone loves Jack Kaiser.
You just named
Jack
a lot
Kaiser
of
is
things that don't have to
not.
do with his play on the field, Ryan. That's what I'm noticing.
Exactly. Well, okay.
You
Yeah,
know
it's
a player's awesome when the first 7 things someone lists are all intangibles.
it's all intangible base. Absolutely. But he's not the 107th best player in the draft. And there are better linebackers on the board. Like, they're just
Where would you have
they
taken
just
him?
were. What's that?
Where would you have taken him?
Like fifth or sixth, somewhere in that
Okay.
bucket. Like, cool.
Yeah,
He was just a round or two too early.
Sure.
Because I think Jack will make a roster. I think he'll be a special teams player. I just don't think that he has developmental upside to be a starting linebacker long term in the NFL. So I'm not taking him top 110 picks. I just wouldn't do it.
So to
Jalen
recap,
McLeod.
Notre Dame guys,
Yeah.
of the Notre Dame guy is best things about him are 7 intangible things. And quote, he'll make a roster. End quote.
He could marry one of my daughters, but I wouldn't draft him in the 4th round. That's what I would say about Jack Kaiser. Great person. Absolute great person. Will play special teams. Cool.
Tough.
After that, it's just like Jalen McLeod. I've heard some bad things about him out of Auburn from a character perspective. I don't like even drafting him, to be honest. And then after it's just like it's a bunch of who cares. Like, it's just a bunch of who cares picks at that point. So my favorite pick was Travis Hunter is the best player, obviously, that they drafted. Cool.
You think?
Wyatt Milam. After that, I don't think I like a single pick.
Yeah, I love Hunter. Question the process. I really like the Milam pick. I lukewarm like the Tootin pick, just because if the running back room wasn't as like part of the thing for me is that Bayshall enters a running back room that's pretty muddy to me right now. Like, I'm not quite sure what to make of the Jacksonville running back room now. And I like, what's his opportunities going to be? What is his role going to be? Are they going to use him on a regular basis? Is he going to be your early down or your late down back? Is he going to be purely situational? Is it going to be we have the Tootin package that we run out there for 7 plays? Like, I don't know. And so maybe when I see the vision there, it makes some more sense to me. But I think that he's a name that a lot of people love in a vacuum because of the name. And from the, the fantasy guys just latched onto him early, but plugging him into this situation.
When he ran 4.32, man, it was over with. They're like, yep, that's the guy. That's the guy. Cool.
And he's not small. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, man. And the Hunter thing, I'm a split mind. Like, it's monkey brain, analytics brain on that one, where it's like, as we know, I'm writing. I've got an article coming out on A2Zsports.com today, kind of about this. We know that the cardinal sin of drafting is overconfidence in your own evaluations, right? And you fall in like and not in love. And the best teams, in terms of consistent draft value, prey on the overconfidence of others instead of relying on their own confidence, right? Sure. And you allow others to give up value to manifest their overconfidence, and you just fall back and maybe even go with a little bit of the wisdom of the crowds is another way to kind of win the draft. And so I subscribe to those things, and being patient and banking on delayed gratification and picking and choosing your spots, like, because none of this is black and white. Like, there needs to be some exceptions, and you do need to stand on business on certain players and say it with your chest. Because if you're just constantly fall back, you're never going to get the stars that you need to be the best player, best team in the league, right? To get stars, you got to take swings. And that's what the Jaguars did. But brother, it better be the exception to end all exceptions, because you either just made him the highest drafted cornerback in NFL history or the highest drafted receiver since Julio. Was Julio the second pick?
I mean, he was definitely very early. I know Calvin Johnson was the
Calvin.
second pick, right?
No,
He was the
Johnson.
second
I
pick,
think it's since Calvin Johnson. I think the highest drafted receiver since Calvin Johnson. So he better either be the best cornerback ever, or the best receiver since Calvin Johnson, Hall of Famer. And you gave up a lot to do it too. You gave up a lot. So listen, I am as irrationally high on Travis Hunter as anyone you'll meet. I think the guy could be Justin Jefferson. I do. Justin Jefferson, who is also a good defender, so better than Justin Jefferson. But I don't know if I'm that confident he's going to be that guy. I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see. It is a big old swing for the 34-year-old first-time GM, and I at least respect that part, that he was fearless. I wonder if he was on drugs based on his, presser comments afterwards, and so maybe I question the mental acuity of that decision making in the moment. But other than that, I do respect it.
You know what's so weird about the Jaguars team right now too? I know you've heard like the Duval stuff with like Liam Cohen and all. That's like the biggest meme of all time. And Gladstone looks like he's like still going to his high school prom at this point. Like it's hilarious. That is either going to work out so well, like they're going to be a great team in a few years, or they are going to be horrible. I don't think there's any in between ground with the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a boom or bust regime for Jacksonville, and I'm just here for the hilarity of it. It's going to be funny either way. I'm very interested to see how that whole situation turns out.
This team's going to run pure. They are running hot and bright, and we'll see if that star, collapses in on itself very quickly, or if they are just the new star of the NFL solar system. So we'll see. All right, we are already well over time, but that's how an Ryan and Easton show goes. We do have one last thing to get to here, and you know what, Ryan? I have been a terrible host this morning. I've been so invested in our conversation that I've completely forgot about our sponsors. So let me take a moment to show some love to our sponsors this morning. Unbelievable of me. First time I've done this. Let me tell you about the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee. First of all, they are the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine. And apologies to them for this morning pushing so late your ad read that you deserve. boneandjointtn.org. Whenever you get hurt in life, you know who you have to trust. That is the boneandjointtn.com. The institute located in Franklin with over a dozen specialists who can help you with any type of injury. They have a state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus to help you with your recovery. They can do everything under their one roof right there off 565 in Franklin. For your convenience, they got a clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, rehab. Schedule an appointment today at boneandjointtn.org. Again, we know they are our guy. You guys know that they are our guys here on the A to Z Sports Morning Show every single day. Check them out, boneandjointtn.org. And then our other sponsors, the Barton Drury Insurance Group, our newest sponsors here on the show. Customized solutions for all of your insurance needs at bartondrury.com. Truly a one-stop shop for your personal and business insurance. This is a personal endorsement for the A to Z crew, because we here at A to Z use Barton Drury Insurance and we love it. Austin and Zach, when they had their buying experience for insurance last year, they ended up buying from Barton Drury after going through a number of different options and plans, checking responsiveness of different options, the experience with the service team, all of those things. They landed on Barton Drury as the best option for them, and we believe that they would be the best option for you all. They have a very high level of expertise. They sell employee benefits, 401k planning, life insurance, workers' comps, liability, auto, property, umbrella, and surety bonds. If you missed that, it's everything. They've got it all over at the Barton Drury Insurance Group. They're local here in the Tennessee area, Middle Tennessee area, and they strive to provide excellent service, but they also want to take the time to make sure somebody understands their insurance policies. So if you are like me and insurance is a thing that flies right over your head, it's one of the insurance, taxes, annuities, bonds. What is this? I want to just talk ball. Barton Drury is going to help you out and talk to you on your level and make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. So check out Barton Drury Insurance Group. Okay, now that we have done our due diligence on those things, Ryan, there's one last thing to do, and that is to get to some good news on a Friday. Check out our friends at WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Make them a part of your new car buying experience at WilsonCountyHyundai.com or at Wilson County in Lebanon. Okay, Ryan, I'll send you to the chat. Well, actually, we'll give the chat a moment to fill in with some good news. What is your good news this morning? Does something stick out to you this week that is good news in the Roberts household?
Yeah. So I have 2 young kids. For people that don't know, I have a 4-year-old and a soon-to-be 2-year-old this month, actually, which is hilarious. And time is flying by, and it's pretty sad, actually. Very, very, very sad. But it is 84 degrees today in the wonderful state of New Jersey, which
Wow.
means that my in-laws are opening up their pool, which also means
Ooh.
that I have pretty much a guest pass whenever I feel like it because of the girls. I can just take both my daughters over there at any time. So I know that in this so when we have the transition from cold to hot, my allergies get horrible. I don't know if people can hear it in my voice, but I am excited now that we are flipping the script over to nice weather. We have a pool that is being opened up literally this weekend, and we get to enjoy it anytime because of the 2 wonderful children that I have helped bring into this world. So shout out to pool weather, my friend. Shout out to pool weather.
Electric. Some good news is here from the chat. Ethan says good news. Alec Manor will be able to embarrass Travis Hunter twice a year each year. That's going to be something that I can't wait to see. That's going to be a lot of fun. Jeff Rubel, Big Ten Jeff. Good news. I saw Thunderbolts and it was good. Great end credit scene. I'd imagine he means.
I want to see that so bad, man.
Me too, man.
Yeah, I want to see it really bad. Mm-hmm.
I had a friend ask me last night, like, do you want to go see it tonight? And I was like, I do want to. And they're like, well, I get off work late and we can go at 10 o'clock. And I said, can't do it. Got to be on a show at 7 a.m. I want to so bad, but the show would have been an hour late this morning if I had gone to see that then. So I'm going to have to find a time to go see it, but that is something that is on my to-do list for sure. Scott has some good news. Excited to see the rookies contribute to the Titans team. Eric, good news. The Sam curse has been lifted. The Titans are now Super Bowl bound. This is a thing that we'll be monitoring. We will be watching this with great interest to see whether or not that is in fact a thing.
Might have to get shirts if that is a thing. If they win a Super Bowl after Sam leaves, we might have to get shirts made about that. That's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, we'll keep that on the radar. Dalen, good news. After traveling for work so much this month, I'll be done this week and back home with my 3-month-old. That's exciting. Mm-hmm. Jason, good news. I watched 10 people in wheelchairs pre-board my flight to San Diego on the way home last week after we landed. Only 2 of them still needed wheelchairs. I witnessed an in-flight miracle. Wow. That is incredible, Jason. And I am 100% on board with what you're alluding to here. And I think you're right. And I think it is funny, but that is some good news, Jason. I like that a lot. It's funny how that works, isn't it, Ryan?
Yes. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I might try it now. I don't know. I'm actually not.
I know. I might need a wheelchair
moral
next
person,
time I go.
but like it's a pretty funny conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, my leg's really been acting up. Nick, good news. My New York Knicks won the series versus the pesky Pistons thanks to Captain Clutch, Jalen Brunson. Captain nickname over here from Nick. Yeah, I watched the end of that game last night with some A to Z folks actually, and it was an exciting ending. The Pistons really choked it away, I'm afraid.
Unfortunately, I am a Philadelphia 76ers fan because of where I live, and I dislike the Knicks. But it was Jalen Brunson. Yep.
The Pistons clutched up and then they choked it. To be clear, they did come back and then ultimately fell a bit short.
After Brunson just had a horrible game the game before as well. Mm-hmm. So yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay, my good news before we get out of here is that I was deathly ill this week and feel a lot better. So I just am, it's very easy to take for granted wellness, to take your health for granted. And it's, after a particularly bad bout with sickness, you kind of get that feeling, which you're grateful to be healthy. And I am the only good news out of it is that I am 10 pounds lighter than I was before I got sick. So, there's a little kickstart there. I don't think it's the healthiest way to diet. I wouldn't recommend it, but it is a way to diet. And so, first time back to the gym in a week yesterday was really, I'm an everyday gym guy. And so I was just itching to do it. But when you lose that much weight that quickly, I don't know if you know this, your whole body like atrophies. Like you
Yes.
you run like it's not good. Yesterday I had to be very patient and intentional and do like, 60% on the weights and like really ease back into it and I was like, wow, this is harder than it was. Well, it's because I, lost some muscle mass and we'll get back though. We're gonna recover and it's good news around here in the Freeze household.
Yeah. That's yeah, that the same thing happened to me like 2 years ago. I lost like 8 pounds from like just a horrible stomach bug for like 3 days, and it was yeah, wasn't the greatest thing of all time, especially with kids. Not the greatest thing of all time, but we made it, man. We made it.
That's right.
Survivors.
Well, we are
Survivors.
survivors. We'll be back here on the A to Z Sports Morning Show next Monday. For folks that are in the Middle Tennessee area, just a last call. If you want to see some A to Z folks, you can do that tonight at the Install with Buck Rising and Greg Cosell and Brian Callahan. They will be breaking down some film on the Titans draft class, doing a draft recap. It's a charity event. It's for a good cause. It's at the Hutton Hotel, the Analog at the Hutton Hotel here in Nashville. I believe there are still tickets available. If not, whoops, well, you lost out on your chance there. But I think that there are some last minute opportunities. I'll be there. Like I said, Brian Callahan will be there. Some other exciting people will be there. Come hang out. It's going to be a good time. Until Monday, like the show, subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you then.